Welcome. Today I'm going to be transforming a lamp. I've had this lamp for quite some time now. I love the shape of it. I love the texture of it. I just don't love the color. So I'm going to change it up and give it a little bit of makeover, and I hope you'll join me for the process. I'm Cindy, and you can find me on Instagram at Cozy Mountain Cottage. So the first thing I did to this lamp already was I cleaned it with Clean Slate. Clean Slate is the first step in any project I do, because what this does is it gets all the grease and grime and dirt and just anything off of the surface so that the Amy Howard one-step paint will adhere to the surface. So that's already done and taken care of, and now we're going to start painting. So let me tell you what my plan is for this. I'm going to be using two colors, okay? I'm going to be using Bauhaus Buff and English Boxwood. Nice green there. Anyways, I'm going to mix them. I haven't done that before, but it's fun to try new things and experiment, and you know, I'm planning on it turning out fabulous. So hang in there and let's see what happens. So the very first thing I'm going to do, I've already mixed my paints. Let me put my camera down here a little bit. So I've already mixed my paints. I mean, I've got just white. It's just the Bauhaus Buff. And then I've mixed the Bauhaus Buff with some of the English Boxwood just to make it a lighter green, okay? So the very first thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put one coat of the Bauhaus Buff on, and I am using the Amy Howard chip brush. I love these chip brushes. Can't have too many of those around. All right, so I am just gonna put a coat on, and you know what, I'm not too terribly concerned about it being super good coverage, although it's kind of hard not to get good coverage with this paint and these brushes. They work so well together. But the key here is just to lighten it up. Okay, so this is dry. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mixed color. So this is English Boxwood mixed with Bauhaus Buff. I honestly don't know the ratio that I mixed it. I just kind of poured it in until it was the color that I wanted it to be. So, and remember again, I'm just experimenting here, okay? I really don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I do know that I want some of this white to show through. And you know, but I also want to get some green on there. So again, I'm not gonna worry about it being a really nice full coat, except that maybe in some spots, you know, maybe in some spots I might make it a little darker than others. All right, that's the coat of green. So we're gonna let that dry and move on to the next step. Now the next step I'm excited about. I'm also a little bit nervous about it. So I think maybe I'm nervous because I'm gonna be doing something that Amy says never, never do. Okay, so the green is dry, and I decided before I do the step that I don't think Amy approves of, it's fine. But I decided I want a little bit of dark green through it. So I'm actually just going to use the English Boxwood straight, and I'm just going to use the lid because I just want a tiny bit of darkness here and there. I'm going to do the same thing with the white, and call me crazy, but I'm just using the same brush. Just want to have a little bit of extra white on it. I don't really want it to look like it was put on with a sponge, which is why I'm going over it kind of rubbing it in a little bit. All right, we're gonna call that good. And now I'll be back with the next step that Amy always says, don't do this. I'm gonna do it. Just gonna do it. Okay, so everything's dry. You know, I added a little bit of dark, a little bit of white here and there. I know it looks kind of polka dotty, but I think this next step is going to change all that. So this is the step that I was telling you that Amy always says, never, never do this. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Amy's dark antique wax, but I'm not going to use the light antique wax first. Now, do not try this at home unless you know for sure that you want to change the color of your paint, because that's what this is going to do. It's definitely going to change the color. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. Make sure this is in the, let me move my camera down a little bit for you. All right. So again, it's the dark wax. I'm just using a cheap chip brush, and I'm going to put some on the brush. I'm still going to offload it on the cardboard. We don't want too much on it. And then I'm just going to start applying this wax. And what you will see is that it just starts giving it this really kind of dirtied look. And I am okay with that. And I actually feel like I want it to be a little bit heavier. So, and the one thing I love about this piece with all of these grooves, all the texture that it's got in it, it really makes this part of the technique more fun, because it can get down in those cracks and crevices, and that's really what I'm going for. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I get the entire lamp covered in dark wax. Okay, so before I go any further, I wanted to show you the difference. So I've dark waxed everything down to the base, and so you can see how much it changes the color, which I think is fabulous. Now, had I used light wax first, then it would not have changed the color nearly this much. It would have mostly just enhanced this color, given it, well, the light wax would enhance this color, and then the dark wax, you know, just kind of gives it some depth and gives it that antique look. But this is just really changing the color of it, and that's exactly what I wanted. So I am loving it. I'm going to continue on now and finish up on this base. Okay, so the entire lamp is now covered with the dark wax, and at this point, what I'm going to do now, just like with any other project that you use the dark wax on, is I'm going to let this dry and come to tack, because right now it's, you know, it's wet, very moist. So I'm going to let it dry. Then I'm going to come back and buff it. And then I think there's probably going to be some areas where I'm actually going to want to add just a little bit more dark wax, but I got to let this coat dry first, because if I try to put more wax on it right now, it just kind of rubs out the wax that's already there. So even though I'm going to put more dark wax over this dark wax, I need to let this dry. So I will be back when I'm ready for that part. Okay, it's time for the last step. So this dark wax has had a chance to dry, and I'm just gonna see how I feel about it after I get it all buffed. But the more I look at it, the more I think I just kind of love it the way it is. I may not be putting any more dark wax on it. I'm really kind of loving it. So anyway, all right, I'm going to use 4/0 steel wool for buffing. I really like that. I like the sheen that it gives. It's just easy to work with. So buffing is super easy, you guys, super easy. Don't ever let waxing scare you off. It's super easy to do. And oh my goodness, the buffing just it gives it it brings out the sheen. And the longer actually that you wait to wax it, the easier to buff it, the easier it buffs. So just gonna get this all buffed up. You can already see that gorgeous sheen coming through. Now with the dark wax, and remember, I did a no-no, which, it just depends on what you're doing, but I wanted to change the color. I wanted the green to have just a little bit more dark, a little more antique-y look to it. So that's why I put the dark wax right over the green paint. I did not put the light wax on first, which don't try that at home, again, unless you want to change your paint color, because you will change your paint color and you won't be able to get that dark off. But this is what I wanted. It's the look that I wanted, and I really love it. So, and with a piece like this that has so much texture, I love that as I buff it, I can see that, that dark wax really stays down in the texture. I think that's great. I just love the way that looks. For someone like me who loves antiques and loves, vintage items and just junk, that kind of old, weathered, kind of dirty look is just, I love it. I love it. Everybody has their different tastes, their different likes and different styles, and that is the beauty of paint and wax and just all the different Amy Howard projects or products, is that you can get whatever look you want that meets your style and your home decor, just by using a different technique with the same products. So I absolutely love that about it. I can't wait to show you this lamp once it's all back together and back where it belongs. Did I tell you that I have a little bit of a lamp fetish? Yeah. Once upon a time when we lived in our last house, I think I had like 17 lamps. I love lamps. I do not love overhead lighting. I love lamp light. It's cozy, it's warm. But in our much smaller little house that we have here, I don't have room for as many lamps, although 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 right here in this tiny little room. 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 lamps in this little 800 square foot house. And no overhead lighting except for the lights over my sink. And again, to each his own. Everybody has their own style. And you know what? I love a lot of different styles. I really do. But, we all do what we like in our own home. All right. And the nice thing, once it's buffed, it's just so smooth and silky. It just feels so good. Super excited to have this lamp finished. I love the way the dark wax gets down in that texture. Can you see that? Hopefully it'll focus. Love that. I love the way you can see some white coming through. You see the dark wax, see a couple different shades of green. Super happy with it. I'm super happy with the way it turned out. And again, I am just a big advocate for trying new things. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to do something yourself. You know what? If it didn't turn out the way I liked it, I could just paint right over it. The first thing I would do is pull out my Amy Howard clean slate and clean off all this wax, and then I would just paint over it and I would start over. But I'm loving it. And even like, my little polka dotty look, I think that faded in and blended in more as I added the dark wax to it. And I just love the look of it. So anyways, thank you so much
for following along, for watching my lamp be transformed. And I hope that this gives you the courage to try to transform something that you love, but maybe you just don't love the color of it. Don't be afraid. Just grab some Amy Howard paint and give it a try. I promise you, it's a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.